In today's video, we'll go over the programming information for your Call for Projects application. As you can see here, we have our example project open. Again, we are in draft form as the project needs some key information before we're able to submit or review. We also have our title and ETIP number already generated from our initiation of this project. So in order to add our key information, we'll start by clicking Edit. When you're in the process of first creating your project, it'll automatically be in edit format so that you can make these changes right away. From our last video, you can see that we still have our title, description, project type, lead agency, county, and municipality. You are able to change any of these after the fact. So if you realize we actually aren't going region-wide, we're going to be in Kendall County, you can uncheck region-wide. And you will notice again that this then limits the list of municipalities just to munis in Kendall County. You have the option of selecting multiple municipalities if that is the case, or unincorporated, but for today's example, we'll go ahead and select Plano. We are also going to require you to add some more information about the engineering status of the project, work types, major implementation group, and sponsor. So you'll go ahead, select the drop down here, and you see a list of options in terms of the preliminary engineering status of the project. For this one, we'll go ahead and select substantially complete, noting that this project has already made some progress. If you have any questions about the definitions of these statuses and information, please contact your planning liaison who can provide clarity on how to complete these sections. The next question is phase 2 engineering complete. The answer here would be no, as we're not quite there yet as indicated in our first answer. This project will not require right-of-way. And if you notice up above, we did select a bicycle and pedestrian our project type, and so we want our work types to align. Let's say we have a new bicycle facility coming in, so we can search the word bike, and then we have that come up right away. Let's say we're adding a new facility and some parking. If you're not sure which work types to use, you can scroll through the list to kind of understand all of the options. There will also be written guidance with descriptions of all these work types provided to successfully complete your application. Once you make sure that you've checked all the relevant work types, the major implementation group is going to be key to completing your application. For this, you're going to want to select STP Local, as this is the STPL call for projects, and it helps our record keeping within the database. Finally, the sponsor agency should be the municipality in which the project is being completed. So again, we already selected Plano, so we can search here, Plano Township, and we are all set to go. Then we'll move into our location information. Here we'll add key elements about the project's location. Starting with the system, let's say we're on our local roads. The project type will be a trail and path segment adjacent to the road. You're able to add a description. So let's say we're going to put it on Washington Street from Illinois 31 to Illinois 25. If there's a name of the path here, we'd say example path, for example. If we are working on an existing trail, something that already has a name in a plan. For distance, we want to add some estimated mile information. So let's say we're extending this existing path 0.63 miles. You'll see the question here is modeling. That relates to the exempt status of the project for our air quality conformity analysis. For the purposes of your application, we're going to just go ahead and make sure that's at none, unless otherwise told. Finally, you'll need a completion year. You can see here there's kind of two sections. One is the model completion year, and then one is the open to traffic year. Again, that modeling information is related to air quality analysis, and for the purposes of this application, you're going to want to use the open to traffic years. This is an estimate of when the project will be available to users. And so we will go ahead and estimate it'll be done in 2031. If there is any additional location information or descriptive information relevant to the project, feel free to add it here. You could also add, for example, map uploaded in attachments. And there we have our complete location information for this project. If the project has multiple segments or locations, you're welcome to add multiple lines here. The most important section for your application is going to be this programming information tab. We want to make sure we collect all the financial information related to this project, not just the money you're applying for, but all of the funding the project has received. Even if the project is already in the TIP, you want to make sure that money is reflected in here as well. So we'll go ahead, select add row, and we'll say that this project has already received STP funding for engineering 2. So we'll say, for example, that in 27, we have some funding already programmed. Again, you'll have a long drop down here, and it will separate the funding into federal highway, federal transit, local, other, and state to make it a little bit easier to understand. But for here, we'll just use the search just to show you STP, and we have STP local. Again, we said that was for engineering 2. So we'll go ahead, add that money. For example, here we have $472,500, and we're going to want to make sure that the local match for that is captured. So noting right off the bat, you'll see red here that we have a 0% effective match. So both for the money you're applying for and the existing finances on the project, you're going to want to make sure that you include it. So again, we want that matching year for our local funds. You can search local funds here. And we'll make sure to add that 20% match. So in this case, $157,500. And then you can see we have a 25% match here. So a little bit of an overmatch on our funding for the total of $630,000 for engineering 2. Now that we have our existing funding entered, it's important that we add our requested. Here you can also make this the child of to make it clear that these two are related in the database, and so we aren't getting the local match confused with your application funds. In this case, we'll go ahead, click add row. As you can see here, we have kind of a separate section then from this existing funding. And here we're going to want the year that you are requesting the funds for. So let's say our open traffic was 2031. Let's say we're looking to do construction in 2029. And again, here, instead of putting STPL for this requested funding, since we already know that the major implementation group is that STP local program, we're going to do requested federal. So again, very important here that you don't put STP local. That indicates funding that's already allocated. Instead, requested federal. So here we have our requested federal line. And you also have the option of using a match calculator to make sure that your amounts are accurate. So if you toggle this on, you can say the total amount of construction is $1 million. And again, that's going to be requested federal. So you can see here, you can kind of build out your line items as is. So you can see that 20% match is already put into the system. And we're going to want our local funds. Fiscal year is at 2029. Phase is construction. So you kind of have two ways of entering. You can see we already added this line item here, so we don't want to duplicate it. But if we do use the match calculator, we can add the funding right there. So if you go ahead and do that route, you can also delete a line item simply by going over to the right-hand side and selecting that X. There, it automatically adds the relationship between the two from the match calculator, and we can be confident that we're requesting the proper amount and including the proper amount of local funding. Here we have our existing and requested information successfully added. We can see the phases here, engineering being pursued in 27 and construction in 2029. In our subsequent videos, we'll go over how to complete the other tabs, going through what information is included and what needs to be completed before you can successfully submit your project. You can see our change region down at the bottom here is new project. And for your narrative, you can put STPL application. And make sure before you toggle to any other tabs that you just select Save Changes. The system will take a second to load. And your changes have been saved. That completes the entirety of the programming section. You'll see here that it notes project is still not ready to submit. There's a flag on our project questions. So tune in for our following videos going over how to complete the rest of the information and successfully submit your application for funding. Thank you.